Varn was having what he considered a perfectly acceptable shift. Boring, yes. Mind-numbing, absolutely. But acceptable. His 6 limbs were sprawled across the tactical console in the kind of relaxed posture that would have gotten him written up if Commander Hulox actually cared about posture. The deep space monitoring station hummed with the gentle, tedious rhythm of absolutely nothing happening, which, naturally, meant something was about to happen. The first alarm chirped, just a small one. Varn's primary eye flicked toward the sensor readout while his other 3 eyes remained fixed on the entertainment screen where he had been watching the Galactic Sports Network. Probably a debris field, maybe a small asteroid, nothing that required actual effort. The second alarm was louder, more insistent, the kind that suggested effort might be required after all. Varn sighed, a sound that came out like air escaping from a punctured hull, and pulled himself upright. All 6 of his arms moved across the controls with practiced efficiency, calling up the sensor data. What he saw made his tertiary stomach clench. Threat level, maximum. Classification, apex predator, mass signature, roughly equivalent to a Vraxian death beast. Distance, approaching rapidly. Oh, fantastic, Varn muttered, his mandibles clicking together in agitation. Just absolutely wonderful. This is exactly what I needed today. He slammed the emergency alert button with perhaps more force than necessary. Throughout the station, klaxons began wailing. Red lights bathed every corridor in an angry crimson glow. Blast doors started sliding shut with hydraulic hisses that sounded almost apologetic. Commander Hulox's voice crackled over the intercom within seconds. "Varn, report! What in the name of the void is happening?" "Sir, we have an incoming bogey," Varn said, his digits flying across the console, pulling up every scanner they had. "Sensors are flagging it as a massive predator. Threat assessment is off the charts. Whatever this thing is, it is broadcasting aggression signatures that match 17 different apex species in our database." 17? Hulox sounded like he was choking on his own breathing apparatus. "That is not possible." "I am aware that it is not possible, sir. I am merely telling you what the sensors are screaming at me." Kip, the young sensor technician, scrambled into the tactical bay, his 3 legs moving in an uncoordinated tangle of panic. "Sir, I have been running diagnostics. The sensors are not malfunctioning. Whatever is out there, it is real." "Battle stations," Hulox barked. "Brella, get your security team armed and ready. Doxel, prep medical for potential casualties. Everyone else, I want eyes on every screen, every sensor, every single piece of equipment we have. Find me this thing." Varn was already working on it. His primary arms manipulated the long-range scanners, while his secondary arms pulled up visual feeds and his tertiary arms prepared the station's admittedly pathetic defensive weapons. They were a monitoring outpost, not a military installation. Their weapons were designed to deal with small pirates or debris, not apex predators. "Sir, I'm getting a visual," Kip announced, his voice cracking. "Patching it through to main screen now." The main display flickered to life. Every member of the crew who had crowded into the tactical bay went silent. Absolutely, completely silent. There, floating in the void of space just outside their station, was the source of all their panic. It was small, very small, roughly a meter tall, maybe less. It wore what appeared to be a basic pressure suit, the kind that colonies handed out to workers for short-duration external repairs. The suit was bright blue with yellow accents and had cartoon images of what Varn assumed were Earth creatures plastered across it. Inside the transparent helmet was a tiny human face, round cheeks, large eyes, a button nose pressed against the inside of the faceplate. The thing waved at the camera. "That," Varn said slowly, his mandibles hanging open in disbelief, "is a human juvenile." "A what?" Hulox appeared on the secondary screen, his own face a mask of confusion. "A child, sir. A human child. I believe they call this particular age range what is the word? A kid? No, wait, that is a Terran goat offspring. A toddler? No, too young for that classification. I think this one falls into the category of, does it matter what we call it?" Brella burst into the room, her security team behind her, all of them armed with pulse rifles. She took one look at the screen and lowered her weapon. That tiny thing set off our apex predator alarms? Kip was frantically typing at his console, his faceplates flushing a pale green with embarrassment. The sensors are not wrong. Look at the readings. Threat assessment is still maximum. The biological signature is still reading as a major predator. Then your sensors are broken, Brella snapped. They are not broken, Kip shot back. I have run every diagnostic we have. The equipment is functioning perfectly. Varn studied the readouts, his primary eye narrowing. Kip was right. The sensors were working exactly as designed, which meant, "It is not the sensors that are the problem," Varn said quietly. "It is the humans." Everyone turned to look at him. "Explain," Hulox demanded. Varn gestured at the screen with two of his arms while his other four pulled up comparison data. "Our sensors are designed to detect threat levels based on biological markers, aggression hormones, predatory chemical signatures, physical capabilities. This human child is registering off the charts in every single category." "But it is tiny," Brella protested. "Yes, it is tiny. And yet somehow, it is producing the biological signatures of something that could tear through this station like tissue paper." Varn felt his tertiary stomach clench again. Which raises a very disturbing question. If their children register as apex predators. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. On the screen, the human child had started doing something odd. It was moving its limbs in a repetitive pattern, up and down, side to side. It took Varn a moment to access the Terran database and realize what he was seeing. The child was dancing. "Sir," Varn said, his voice carefully controlled, "I believe we need to make contact with this individual and determine where it came from and why it is here." "Agreed," Hulox said. "Brella, take your team and—" "Absolutely not," Brella interrupted. "Sir, with all respect, I am not approaching that thing until we know more about it." "It is a child." "It is a human child," Brella corrected. "Have you read the reports from the stations that have dealt with humans? They are insane, completely insane. They climb mountains for fun. They jump out of flying vehicles for entertainment. They ingest toxins recreationally and call it a party. And that is the adults. I do not even want to think about what their offspring are capable of." Hulox looked like he wanted to argue, but Varn could see the commander was reconsidering. "Fine," Hulox said finally. "Varn, you are our tactical officer and our leading expert on predatory species. You make first contact." "I am sorry. What?" Varn's mandibles clicked in rapid succession, a sure sign of distress. "Sir, I analyze threats. I do not babysit alien children. You just got volunteered. Suit up." Varn looked at the screen. The human child had stopped dancing and was now attempting to peer directly into the camera, its face taking up most of the display. It appeared to be making faces, sticking out a small pink tongue, crossing its eyes. "I hate my job," Varn muttered, but he was already moving toward the airlock because orders were orders, and someone had to figure out why their sensors thought a meter-tall human was the most dangerous thing in the sector. He just wished it did not have to be him. Varn cycled through the airlock with all the enthusiasm of someone volunteering for a black hole diving expedition. His pressure suit felt too tight. His breathing apparatus kept fogging up his primary eye's visual receptors. And, most annoyingly, his pulse was racing like he was actually approaching something dangerous instead of a tiny human wrapped in what appeared to be sleepwear with built-in life support. "Varn, status?" Hulox's voice crackled through the comm. "I'm approximately 10 meters from the target, sir. It has not moved. It appears to be chewing something." "Chewing? Is it consuming part of its suit?" "Negative, sir. I believe it has food." Varn pushed himself closer with a gentle thruster burst. "I can see something in its manipulators. Small, colorful. Possibly rations?" The human child turned its head, noticed Varn approaching, and immediately began waving both arms with such enthusiasm that it started spinning slowly in the microgravity. Varn could hear something through the comm channel, a high-pitched voice, excited, talking rapidly in Terran Standard. "Hello! Hello! Are you an alien? You look like an alien! You have so many arms! That's so cool! Do you want some candy?" Varn froze. His translator was working, but the words were coming so fast, so enthusiastically, that it took his brain a moment to process. Greetings, small human. I am Tactical Officer Varn of Monitoring Station 42. Can you please identify yourself? I am Tommy. I am 7. Well, almost 7.5. Do you live in that big station? It is really shiny. I like shiny things. Tommy, yes, good. Tommy, where are your parental units? Oh, Mom and Dad are on the ship. We stopped for supplies, but I wanted to see the station because it looked cool, and nobody was watching me because Dad was arguing with the supply guy about fuel prices, and Mom was on her datapad doing work stuff, so I just grabbed a suit and came out here. Varn felt something inside him break, just a little. You simply grabbed a suit and left. Uh-huh. It was easy. I know how the airlocks work. Dad showed me once. Your father showed you how to operate an airlock. Well, yeah, in case of emergencies. Tommy was still spinning, now holding what appeared to be a brightly wrapped piece of food. Do you want candy? I have lots. I have the red ones and the green ones and the sour ones that make your face go all weird. Brella's voice cut through the calm. Varn, please confirm. Did that child just say it was taught how to operate airlocks? As a 7-year-old? That's what it said, yes. These humans are going to get themselves killed. Or us, Varn muttered. He watched Tommy unwrap another piece of candy and shove it into his mouth, chewing with visible delight. Tommy, I need you to come inside the station with me. We need to contact your parents and let them know where you are. Okay, but can I see your station first? Does it have cool stuff? Do you have games? I like games. Oh, do you want to see something cool? Tommy, I really think we should... But the child was already moving. It pulled itself into a specific position, drew in what appeared to be a large breath, and opened its mouth. What came out was difficult to describe. It was part roar, part giggle, part choking sound. The child's cheeks were bulging with candy, making the whole attempt rather garbled and wet. Inside the station, every alarm went off simultaneously. Proximity alert! Hostile vocalization detected! Threat level critical! Kip's panicked voice erupted through the comm. Sir, the sensors are detecting an attack pattern. The creature is making aggressive territorial calls. That is not an attack, Varn shouted back. That is a child trying to make noise with its mouth full. A mouthful of what? Candy. There was a long pause. What, Hulak said slowly, is candy? Varn watched Tommy finish. His attempt at whatever noise he was trying to make, then immediately start laughing at his own performance. The child seemed utterly delighted with himself, completely unaware that he had just triggered a station-wide emergency. Sir, Varn said, his voice very, very tired, I'm bringing the human inside. Please deactivate the internal defense systems and someone locate this child's parents immediately. Roger that. And Varn? Yes, sir? Try not to let it touch anything. Varn looked at Tommy, who was now attempting to eat 3 pieces of candy at once while simultaneously trying to high-five him with a sticky hand. I will do my best, sir. He had a feeling his best was not going to be good enough. Getting Tommy inside the station proved to be an exercise in controlled chaos. The child would not stop moving, would not stop talking, and most critically, would not stop pulling things out of his pockets. Oh, I found this rock on the last planet. It is shiny, and this is a toy spaceship, and this is a wrapper from the good candy, not the okay candy, and this is... Tommy, please stop removing items from your suit, Varn said, trying to guide the floating child through the corridors without actually touching him. The sensors were still screaming warnings every few seconds, and Varn's nerves were starting to fray. We need to get you to the central hub where it is safe. Safe from what? I am honestly not sure anymore. They rounded a corner and nearly collided with Doxel, the medical officer, who took one look at Tommy and immediately backed against the wall. Is that it? His name is Tommy, and yes, this is it. Doxel stared at the child with all 4 of his optical sensors. It is so small. Why is it so small? Humans are supposed to be larger than this. I am not small, Tommy protested, his voice indignant. I'm actually really tall for my age. My teacher said so. Last year I was the 3rd tallest in my class, but then this kid named Kevin had a growth spurt, and now I'm 4th, but that is still pretty good. It talks so much, Doxel whispered. Does it ever stop talking? I have not observed a pause yet, no. They entered the central hub where the rest of the crew had gathered. Brella and her security team were positioned behind various consoles, weapons at the ready but not aimed. Kip was frantically typing at his station, muttering under his breath. Hulox appeared on the main screen, having decided to observe from the safety of his command quarters. "All right," Hulox said, his voice attempting authority, but landing somewhere near nervous confusion. "Small human, Tommy. We are attempting to locate your parental units. Can you tell us the name of your ship?" "The Wandering Wombat," Tommy announced proudly. Every alien in the room exchanged glances. "The what?" Brella asked. "Wandering Wombat. It is named after an Earth animal. Wombats are really cool. They have cube-shaped poop." "They have what-shaped?" Hulox started, then visibly decided he did not want to know. "Never mind. Kip, search for any human vessels with that designation in the local sector." "On it, sir." Tommy was looking around the hub with wide eyes, taking in all the alien technology with undisguised fascination. "Wow, this place is so cool. What does this button do?" "Do not touch that," 3 voices shouted simultaneously. Tommy pulled his hand back, looking startled. Then his face scrunched up. His eyes began to water. His lower lip trembled. "Oh no," Varn said. "Oh no, please do not." But it was too late. Tommy sneezed, a massive, wet, explosive sneeze that echoed through the chamber and splattered against the inside of his helmet. Every alarm in the station went ballistic. "Biological weapon detected. Chemical dispersal pattern recognized. Contamination protocol initiated." "It is just a sneeze," Varn roared over the klaxons. "Turn off the alarms." Kip was hammering at his console. "I am trying. The system thinks we are under chemical attack." Tommy sneezed again, and again, 3 more times in rapid succession. "Multiple weapons discharge. Escalating threat level." "I swear by the void if someone does not silence those alarms." The klaxons finally cut off, leaving a ringing silence in their wake. Tommy sniffled, wiping his nose on his sleeve, looking completely unbothered by the panic he had just caused. "Sorry," he said cheerfully. "I think I am allergic to something in here." "Allergic," Brella repeated flatly. "The human child is allergic to our station." "It is actually a common human condition," Doxel offered helpfully. "Their immune systems are hyperactive. They react to almost everything." Fantastic. Wonderful. Perfect. Varn was developing what he suspected was a stress-induced headache in 3 of his brain lobes. "Oh, I almost forgot." Tommy reached into another pocket. "I have more candy. Do you guys want some? Sharing is caring." He pulled out a handful of brightly colored confections, each one wrapped in crinkly paper that caught the station's lights. "Do not accept those," Brella warned. "It could be a toxin or a biological sample. Humans are known to carry dangerous substances." "It is candy," Tommy insisted. "Look, I will show you." He unwrapped one and popped it into his mouth. Then, apparently deciding one was not enough, he added 2 more. His cheeks bulged like a creature storing food for winter. "Tommy, you should not eat so much at once," Varn said, more out of concern than anything else. He had no idea how much candy was safe for a human child, but that seemed excessive. Tommy, mouth crammed full, tried to respond. What came out was an unintelligible mumble. Then he seemed to remember something. His eyes lit up with excitement. He held up one finger in a wait gesture. "Oh, no," Varn said. "What is he doing?" Tommy positioned himself in what appeared to be a dramatic pose. He drew in a breath through his nose, his chest expanding, and then he opened his mouth and attempted to produce what Varn's translator could only interpret as a roar. What actually came out was a garbled, wet, candy-filled approximation of a sound that might have been intimidating if it had not been completely ridiculous. "Gray!" The sensors lost their collective minds. "Massive predator vocalization! Territorial challenge detected! Imminent attack pattern! All personnel evacuate! All personnel!" "Shut it down!" Hulox screamed. "Shut everything down!" Kip's fingers were a blur. "I am trying, sir, but the system is convinced we are about to be eaten." Tommy, meanwhile, had started laughing so hard that candy pieces were spraying out of his mouth. He thought his own performance was absolutely hilarious. He tried to do it again, achieving similar catastrophic results with the sensors. "That was my dinosaur impression. Did you like it? I've been practicing." Varn stared at the child, at the chaos, at his crew running around trying to prevent the station's computer from initiating an evacuation protocol for a non-existent predator attack. Kip, Varn said quietly, please tell me you found his parents. Yes, sir, they are responding now. They will be here in approximately 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Varn repeated. I can survive 10 minutes. Tommy burped, loudly. The sensors flagged it as a digestive threat display. Maybe, Varn amended. The 10 minutes felt like 10 hours. Tommy had somehow managed to trigger the fire suppression system by breathing too heavily near a ventilation sensor, set off the radiation alarms by showing everyone a glow in the dark sticker from his pocket, and caused a brief hull breach warning when he knocked his helmet against a wall while attempting to demonstrate what he called a cartwheel in zero gravity. Varn was seriously considering early retirement, or possibly just walking out an airlock without a suit. When the docking alert finally chimed, signaling the arrival of the human vessel, Varn felt a wave of relief so intense it made his sensory organs tingle. Salvation. The parental units were here. They would take their chaos spawn and leave, and Varn could go back to his boring, wonderful, peaceful existence of monitoring empty space. The airlock cycled open. 2 humans stepped through. The female was tall, with dark hair pulled back in a practical style. She wore a standard colony ship jumpsuit and carried a datapad in one hand. She looked tired, not panicked, not concerned, just tired. The male was shorter, stockier, with a beard that seemed specifically designed to collect food crumbs. He also looked tired, and slightly annoyed. They both looked at Tommy, who was currently hanging upside down from a ceiling rail, and sighed in perfect unison. Tommy, the female said. Again? Hi, Mom. Tommy waved enthusiastically, sending himself spinning. I made new friends. This is Varn. He has 6 arms. 6. That is so many arms. Sorry about this, the male said, addressing the assembled aliens with a casual tone that suggested this was a regular occurrence. How long has he been out? Hulox, who had finally emerged from his command quarters now that adult humans had arrived, sputtered. How long? How long? Your offspring triggered 17 separate emergency protocols. He registered as an apex predator. He set off biological weapon alerts. He nearly caused a station-wide evacuation. The female human, Lina, according to the identification that popped up on Varn's scanner, nodded sympathetically. Yeah, kids do that. The sensors get confused by their hormone levels. Growth hormones, adrenaline, the whole cocktail of puberty preparation chemistry reads like predator markers to most standard detection equipment. Puberty preparation? Brella looked horrified. You mean he's going to get worse? Oh yeah, the male Frank said cheerfully. Teenagers are a nightmare, but Tommy's only 7, so you've got a few years before that kicks in. A few years? Kip looked like he might faint. How long does human development take? About 18 years until legal adulthood, Lina said, tapping something on her datapad. Though technically the brain does not fully mature until around 25. Dead silence filled the hub. Every alien present was doing the same mental calculation and arriving at the same horrifying conclusion. You mean, Varn said slowly, his mandibles clicking rapidly, that humans spend 18 years as developing juveniles, and you just let them wander around, unsupervised? Well, not unsupervised, Frank said defensively. We watch them, mostly, when we can. I mean, you cannot watch them every second. They are fast and sneaky, and honestly, if you hover too much, they never learn independence. Independence? Hulox's voice had climbed approximately 3 octaves. He operated an airlock, by himself, at age 7. Yeah, we taught him that, Frank said. Safety training. If there is an emergency, he needs to know how to get to a suit and evacuate. Basic stuff. Basic? Lina frowned. Is that not normal? Do other species not teach their children survival skills? Other species, Brella said, her voice carefully controlled, keep their offspring in protected environments until they are fully developed and capable of surviving independently. We do not hand them pressure suits and teach them how to exit ships into the void of space. Huh, Frank said. That explains why you guys looked so freaked out. We thought maybe Tommy had broken something expensive. He broke our entire threat assessment system, Kip wailed. Did he? Lina looked mildly interested. How? Varn stepped forward, deciding that someone needed to maintain a semblance of professional composure, even if he wanted to scream. Your child registered as an apex predator on our sensors. Multiple apex predators, actually. His biological signatures match threat profiles for 17 different dangerous species in our database. Oh, that, Lina said. Yeah, humans have a pretty aggressive biological profile. Persistence predators, you know. We evolved chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Lots of adrenaline, high aggression hormones, omnivorous digestive systems designed to process almost anything. We are basically built like pursuit killers. And you bring your children on space vessels? Brella sounded like she was about to have a breakdown. Sure, Frank said. Why not? They are pretty durable. Tommy here survived a 3-meter fall last year, broke his arm, but it healed up fine. He fell 3 meters and survived? Kids bounce, Frank said with a shrug. Tommy, who had been listening to this exchange with obvious pride, chose that moment to demonstrate his earlier trick. He puffed out his cheeks with the remaining candy, struck his dramatic pose, and unleashed his garbled roar. Gramp! The sensor screamed. Again. Lina reached over and gently closed Tommy's mouth with one hand. Stop that. You're scaring the nice aliens. But Mom, it is my dinosaur impression. I know, sweetie, very fierce, but maybe save it for when we are back on the ship. She turned to Hulox with an apologetic smile. Again, sorry about the trouble. We will get him back to the wandering wombat. Tommy, say goodbye to your new friends. Bye, Varn. Bye, everyone. Thanks for letting me visit. Your station's really cool. Tommy waved with both hands, grinning widely. Can I come back sometime? No, 6 voices shouted simultaneously. Tommy looked confused, but not offended. Frank scooped him up, maneuvered him toward the airlock, and within moments, the family was gone. The airlock sealed. The docking clamps released. The human ship fired its thrusters and began pulling away. Silence descended on the hub. Beautiful, blessed silence. Sir, Varn said finally, I am filing a report on this incident. Agreed, Hulox said weakly. I am recommending that humans be classified as a Category 7 species. Category 7? That is reserved for species that are simultaneously beneficial and utterly incomprehensible. Exactly, sir. Varn watched the human ship disappear into the distance. They let their children operate airlocks. They teach them to survive in hostile environments before their brains are fully developed. They raise apex predators from infancy and call it normal parenting. And somehow, they have not gone extinct. They have also, Doxel added quietly, somehow managed to spread across a dozen systems in less than 2 centuries. Their expansion rate is unprecedented. Brella lowered her weapon, finally, and shook her head. You know what the worst part is? That child was actually kind of adorable. Terrifying, yes. Chaotic, absolutely. But adorable. That is the truly horrifying aspect, Varn agreed. They disarm you with cuteness while simultaneously triggering every survival instinct you possess. It is psychological warfare disguised as child-rearing. Kip was typing rapidly at his console. I'm updating our database. New entry, humans, threat assessment. Put down benign but insane, Varn said. That is not a standard classification. Make it 1. Hulox nodded slowly. I'm attaching a warning to all stations in this sector. When encountering humans, expect the unexpected. Especially with juveniles. Do not trust the sensors. Do not trust your instincts. And whatever you do not accept candy. Agreed, everyone chorused. Varn returned to his console, his limbs aching with exhaustion. His shift was not even halfway over, but he felt like he had lived through a combat scenario. He pulled up his report form and stared at the blank space where he needed to summarize the incident. After a long moment, he typed, Base sensors flagged a mini beast. It was the cub trying to roar with a mouthful of candy. Humans are insane. Recommend extreme caution with all future encounters. Also recommend updating sensor parameters to account for human juvenile biology. Also recommend hazard pay for anyone assigned to human contact protocols. He hit submit and leaned back in his chair. On his screen, a message popped up from the communications array. It was from the wandering wombat. Thanks again for looking after Tommy. Sorry about the excitement. He really liked your station. Says he wants to be a space station officer when he grows up. Maybe we will see you again someday. Safe travels, the Ramirez family. Varn stared at the message. The implications slowly dawned on him. Humans raised their children like this, exposed them to space, to danger, to chaos, taught them to be independent and bold and utterly fearless. And then those children grew up. They grew up into adults who climbed into ships and flew into the unknown, who looked at hostile environments and saw opportunities, who met aliens and made friends, who raised their own children in the same insane, terrifying, beautiful way. "We are doomed," Varn said quietly. "Sir?" Kip looked up. "Not in a bad way, just doomed. The humans are going to be everywhere, are they not? They are going to spread across the galaxy with their chaos and their candy and their complete disregard for reasonable safety protocols, and there is nothing any of us can do to stop them." Brella considered this. To be fair, they do seem friendly. "That," Varn said, "is exactly what makes them so dangerous." He turned off his screens, closed his optical sensors, and tried very hard not to think about a future where human children were a common sight on space stations throughout the sector. He failed. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he could still hear that garbled roar, that enthusiastic voice, that endless stream of words. And despite everything, despite the chaos and the panic and the 17 emergency protocols, he found himself hoping that Tommy did become a space station officer someday. Just preferably at a different station, far, far away from here. 3 months later, Varn received a package, no return address, no warning, just a small container that arrived via standard cargo transport. Inside was a handwritten note in careful, childish letters. "Dear Varn, thank you for being nice to me. Here is some candy, the good kind. Your friend, Tommy." Beneath the note sat approximately 2 kilograms of assorted human confections. Varn stared at the package for a long time. Then, very carefully, he picked up one piece, unwrapped it, examined it with 3 different scanners, all of which confirmed it was harmless sugar-based food. He popped it into his mouth. It was sweet, overwhelmingly sweet. His taste receptors went haywire. His digestive system lodged an immediate complaint. It was also, somehow, delightful. Varn filed his final report that evening. Classification for humans confirmed, benign but insane, friendly but unpredictable, dangerous in the most bizarre ways imaginable. Threat level, somehow both minimal and maximum simultaneously. Recommendation? Accept them, befriend them, learn from them. Because if you could not beat the humans, and you definitely could not, you might as well join them. Just maybe keep the candy consumption to a minimum, his sensors agreed.